Hello, 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 hello. And it's me alone. Weird, I know. But unfortunately, due to a unforeseen circumstances, Mr. Crack is not going to do it on his channel. So whoever you are on his channel, come pop in here. Anyway, I wouldn't expect many of joining live with me. As this last second, I have not even. I just posted on Twitter. I don't do much over Twitter, so I'm not, as I say, I'm not expecting many. Sleepy Reader Damien is enjoying his wedding, I think. So he is not here either. So I'm doing solo. I've been reading quite a few books. I have a great trip to a library yesterday, and I couldn't wait, and I just read fuckloads, to be honest, in comparison to what I usually tend to do. But I really enjoyed it, and because I've really enjoyed it, I just really want to share. And then I post something new, I guess, on my YouTube channel. But it's Sunday therapy, and it's going to be me only, to me and to you after. So hopefully, anyway. So as I say, very good trip to library. Once again, people, if you do have libraries, go join or just use them, because they kind of surprising me as well sometimes. So yeah, hopefully everybody can hear me. Should be something like that, the same. Anyway, so what I'm going to do first, I'm going to show a books I got, and then I'll talk about them, I guess. Or what? Anyway, yeah. Okay. So, Chasing Echoes by Dan Goldman and George Charles. That's one of the books I picked up. Oh, how am I going to do this? I'm not really prepped. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm by myself, you know? Nobody else come. They abandoned me. Hope. Anyway. Nightwing, Leaping into the Light by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. Another thing. Then Celestia, a Manuel Fior book. And then Memories from Limon, Edo Brenes, No Brow. I didn't mention other ones, but I'll mention afterwards. The one thing which I haven't read, because that was way too much for me to read anyway, is Lupus by Frederick Peters. I started it. I barely put it in. And then, Miss So, hello. Hello, Miss So. Thank you for joining me. I am by myself, so everybody abandoned me, but I decided to share with you guys more things what I've read. I don't want to keep it for longer. I'm going to camping next week, so I won't be partaking next week. Hey, check out the show. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for turning up and just give me a heads up. So yeah. I'm going camping next weekend, or I'm going to be a bag by the time the show would be, but I will be extremely tired from all the experiences, hopefully good ones. But we're going camping with family. So anyway, so that's why I'm kind of doing this as well, because 2 weeks after of reading something, especially with fresh memories, I'd rather share it now rather than doing it later. So yeah, so this is the only thing which I didn't catch to read. And I'm really looking forward to, because I'm going to just show it to you guys inside. Frederick Peters' creation, a giant book in comparison to one other books I picked up. So it's quite massive in comparison. Yes, hopefully me too. Fingers crossed. I'm very excited about camping. Hey, cool. First camp. Yes, exactly. First camp for me as well. So very, very excited. Very cool brushed artwork inside. It has a space travel, and we're following these two characters in here. One of the guy's name is Lupus as well, so maybe that's why he's dedicated the book about him as well. But a lot of interesting black and white art, and the story so far is very intriguing, because you have two buddies who like drugs and going on a space travel. And one of them, of course, will be who is the like a angry one, or the childhood friends, but they decided to come join together again, kind of reminisce the good old times when you were kids, kind of thing, and on the road trip into space, which is great already because I am a sucker for a space things. And it says it's sci-fi. Always it says in here contains elements of sci-fi genre. This master subtly tone and composition gives us an introspective tour of palette of human relationships. So yeah, interesting. But as I say, couldn't get to read all of that in kind of like a couple of days, which is quite a lot for me in saying. I wonder which one should I try first. Oh, I'll start with a book which I was kind of not disappointed, but I kind of disappointed in story rather than visuals. I couldn't get into you. It in a way I couldn't understand it much either. Because it's kind of like complex storyline, and this one is Fantagraphics release book, extremely beautiful. Fantagraphics knows how to make the books, especially in hardcover format. They have even the blue tint on the thing, so it's very well represented. It's really well printed book. It's been released recently as well, I think. Maybe last year, 2021, I think. It doesn't give you, like at the beginning of the book, it kind of gives you when it was released. Maybe it's at the back, but I didn't notice. It doesn't really. Wait, maybe? No, I can't even read that. I don't understand when that was. I think it is 2021. Should be. Something like that. Anyway, so Celestia is a tale, apparently, as far as I got it, is about these two characters here. Who were a part of this secret land, which was kind of like left after great troubles which happens in the world, like kind of like post-apocalyptic genre. And it was kind of like, it looks, because Manuele Fior is Italian and he lives in France, and he is this island that almost like feels like is Venice. And as I say, it has absolutely beautiful visuals. And it's like painted, all of the painted panels. With maybe a pencil to get the linear art towards these characters, just to make them more sufficient. But in generally, it's the story what just drove me a bit, kind of like made me a little bit frustrated, because I couldn't understand exactly what the point of the story was. Because I know there's this island where people got escaped because of the things happening surrounding them, and there's these kids like trying to escape the kind of surroundings, because it's like closed off island. The only way you can get into is via telepathic abilities, which these kids have. But this main character, who has a tear drawn on his face, he has, because his dad is part of the group, he has a strange relationship with him, so it's kind of rebels. And there's another girl who has rebelled with him. And it has this overly sexualized dreams, and there is some sex scenes as well, which were, I don't know if what is necessary or maybe just to put the attention towards the comic. But after reading the whole thing, I didn't feel like I have like understood it properly to what's happening surrounding. As I say, visually is absolutely stunning. I loved going through them. There's this amazing scene where they were traveling into destinations without actually knowing where they're going. I'm not sure if, oh yeah, there you go. So they're traveling by car, and this kid who is supposed to also have telepathic abilities, telling them how to do it. And this is the car they're using to travel. And then the most beautiful color scheme panels appears. like kind of a trippy, like kind of like hallucinative, not even sure if they're actually doing traveling or not. They questioning that. And I really like this part, especially kind of like really empty panel, but it says quite a bit of it. However, as I say, the storyline wasn't intriguing enough, or I just didn't understand. I looked it up at the reviews as well for people. Sometimes when you doubt yourself and or you're reading, maybe it's just you who couldn't understand properly or didn't give enough attention in reading while you're reading. I was thinking to see the reviews. I looked at the reviews and it seems to be everybody has quite the same feeling about it, saying like, visually stunning book. However, the story wasn't capturing enough. It is translated, and it says that a person who actually translated it. It says translated by Jamie Richards in the first page. But as I say, it wasn't as amazing as I was hoping it to be, because it drew me the quality of the comic or the graphic novel. That's where I wanted to try it out. But I'm glad I did. Yeah. So I'm not sure. It's just a story, and I wasn't sure what he wanted to portray for us as a reader. Right. We'll do this Nightwing next. Always this live stream won't be as long. When you are like with other people and having conversations, it's so much more things you have to say, because you can just share your thoughts as well, and they can give you something you're not thinking and so that. But when you're by yourself, you can't go through things so quickly. It's crazy. Anyway, Nightwing, Leaping into the Light, from Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. So Tom Taylor has took over the writing of the Nightwing from Tim Seeley, I presume, as far as I know. So this is I think issue I don't know exactly, but I think issue 78, where Tom Taylor has taken over. Bruno Redondo's art in here is absolutely fantastic for DC. And so this one, if you don't not familiar with Tom Taylor is well known for Deceased. I think that's where he's famed for, the DC work, and Injustice as well. And Bruno Redondo says in here, Injustice and Suicide Squad. This is hardcover edition, volume 1 of it, really nicely presented. But still with another thing about a oh no, we were planning, Miss O. We were planning of having a stream with Terrence. All everything was set up, everything. We were supposed to have it done this live chat on this channel as well, but unfortunately, with his work, he said he can't do it today. So that's why it's kind of like I'm just doing it because I was already prepped to go live and talk to him on his channel, but unfortunately he said had to cancel last minute, which is fine. I understand, things happens in life, this is just comics at the end of the day. So I thought, because I have as a time to share it with you guys, that's why I'm doing it. Because as I say, I don't want to wait longer than 2 weeks, because I will forget some things I want to kind of maybe told. Because the last 2 books I will talk about, they were, this one is the last 3 books, basically this one and other 2 books, they were fantastic. Anyway, so yeah, so Nightwing is in Bloodhaven. Apparently, many times he's kind of there from, usually when it comes to Nightwing. I'm not very well versed in Nightwing. I know him from Teen Titans, as far as what I've read in Teen Titans, especially the earlier stages of the Teen Titans. And after that, I have never read any kind of particular things what was written with him. So I wanted to basically always give it a try. It seems to be this character can be extremely liked or not really. I kind of like what I read so far. This is very intriguing, and I really liked the content. So I guess I should just start the content. Right. It's the first page opening, really great. So what I was talking about DC books, the binding, even though it's a hardcover, you can clearly, I don't know if you can kind of see it in here, but the binding is sewn, they're not sewn, but glued, which makes a very restrictive like a page turning, which is and you got a loss, and even in the hardcover. Um, oh, nice. Very good. This is fantastic so far. Tom Taylor, the beauty about Tom Taylor's writing first is that he's all characters has really good voice and clear voice without overcomplicating the narrative. So they just having your nonchalant conversation with other human kind of thing, but in superhero genre kind of thing, and that's the beauty about his writing, and I really enjoyed. As what I've read, Deceased, I read first volume, absolutely loved it. I didn't continue with that afterwards because like there's more other things were taking my fancy. So yeah, it starts like the past, how our Dick Grayson has met Barbara Gordon. And it seems to be that they met just randomly in the park where some rich kids were bullying a kid, and of course Barbara has always been protective. I guess it just rubbed off from the early ages because her dad was a copper detective at that time, nothing major of that sense. And basically our gray our Nightwing or future Nightwing is here to protect anybody who is being bullied, and he gets him to fight, and he shouldn't have, of course, because he's afraid that Batman is going to be just disappointed because like the Batman, because he was Robin in that time as well, and he was always afraid to be disappointed. One of the beautiful takes about this one is he's really not really explained, especially if you are a new reader for, like, let's say you're not familiar with all the Bat lore, if that happens. But if you are not familiar with Bat lore, this is very nice, small kind of glimpse of his relationship with Alfred. And as we know, Alfred is unfortunately deceased. So yeah, and there's a couple of panels in here to understand like how Alfred took over, kind of thing. He's Dick Grayson, to make sure that he's not ever going to be a shunned away from Batman, or the Batman is going to be overly difficult, and he's basically trying to make him feel comfortable and kind of being another dad figure for Dick Grayson, and that relationship flourished, it seems to be. And then we jump straight away into these days, where now, as it's in here, where not our character basically is doing the same thing once again, is trying to protect this little dog who's been punched or kicked actually by the bullies, who think that it's a cool way to entertain themselves by like almost murdering the dog or random stray on the streets, and feel like it's fine to do that. And of course our Nightwing is here to help them. So the story all went really quickly. Action scenes are plenty. Very nice relationship between Barbara Gordon and our Dick Grayson character Nightwing. They always had a relationship. They always never know how to be next to each other, because they had the relationship prior to that in history. They also stopped having that. Try to circle back and watch the replay. Oh no, yeah, I haven't mentioned many things yet, so this is one of the more books I am talking. But thank you for showing up. For sure. So yeah, so it's they have relationship which we don't really know who is gonna be who and how they're gonna be with each other, but they always kept the friendship, which is absolutely amazing. I guess we all would be liking to have a boyfriends who, or ex-boyfriends, still having to be our friends kind of thing, in that kind of good a relationship, not the awkward silence or never knowing them. So very great paneling. Once again, I want to mention Bruno Redondo has done in here very good. I absolutely loved everything. The past of the Flying Graysons, of course, of the history where how Nightwing appeared to be. Also, how he was sacked by Batman, and Alfred was trying to keep him to come back. Also showed slightly a little bit things of his past when he's part of Teen Titans, which is fantastically drawn in here, and really a lot of great characters. So the main story is, of course, we have a bad guy who is, what is his name now? This giant guy who actually looks. Oh, wait. So there's the guy who steals the heart. So he's one of the villains or new villains, which I wasn't aware if it existed prior to that. And also there's mafiosos, the Zucos, who apparently also killed his parents. And then, so corrupt place of Bloodhaven, lots of villains, and Nightwing, who's basically was kind of poor until realizing that after Alfred passed away, he left all his inheritance to him. And funny, or never thought I could think of, that Alfred was billionaire. It's like he had so much cash put away and invested while working for Wayne's, I guess, that not only you get salary to protect the veins, also he was getting to smartly investing his money into. So Nightwing inherits everything from the Alfred, and that's the part where he was reading a letter, which I absolutely loved, and I can't find it now. I can't show it to you because by myself, really not very coherent sometimes, I feel like. Anyway, so yeah, Alfred leaves him the most money he ever thought he would ever own. It's almost being like Bruce Wayne in the same kind of situation, and he wanted to decide what he wants to do with it. Really cool, as I say, action plenty, a lot of kind of sad moments, really good moments, and a very satisfaction. Like after, I was very satisfied after reading this, for sure. I'm looking forward to more. Like I said, look, the Costa. Hello, nice to see you too. Yeah, I bet you're reading this as well. But very good. So I highly recommend people, if you haven't read The Nightwing yet. So the first volume, I think, has just recently been released, and I'm surprised my library had it already. I've actually I could have like requested them to basically arrive to one of the libraries for me to pick it up. You pay a fee for that because like you basically not going random libraries and looking for it. I go through the online systems and I got it to get hold of it. But I know it's just recent release. Yeah, very good, fantastic little tale for the first like 5 issues, I think. And you also have your variant cover gallery. As a special, as an extras, I guess. Not that much, like you would think. I guess Absolute Edition would have way more than that. But that's, like a little bit glimpse of how Redondo wanted to portray Grayson, and it's really, really nicely done. Handsome man. Let me say it this way. Oh, there you go. That's another villain's blockbuster. I kind of heard of him, I think, but maybe not. And also, there's the first appearance of a character. Apparently, I looked it up on eBay, and it goes for a bit of cash because it's the first appearance and it's in quite an involved part, which I wouldn't spoil it to you guys because it was a surprise for me. But I guess you kind of want to, like, if you want as a writer to intrigue character or like readers to come back, I guess it's a good way to do that. So yeah, very good, highly recommended. Right. One of the DC books I thoroughly enjoyed. It doesn't happen often, especially recent ones. The back past is definitely fine. I absolutely love them. But the recent ones is always hit and miss for me. Now let's travel to Costa Rica. So Memories from Limon by Edo Brenes, and it's published by Nobrow. Which is great publisher as well. Very eclectic style. Like they publish something, usually a lot of different countries, artists, I guess. Also, your indie publisher. Let's say this way. So this one was released 2021, so it's very recent. So yep, completely agree with you there, Miso. So Memories from Limon by Edo Brenes is a story of a Ramiro who leaves a his British drizzle, as I say in here, and his beloved fiance Jos to uncover a family history. So this book has, and I think, well, next other book which I'm talking about is all about families and how all families comes together. And basically, as all children comes back to the families who haven't seen them for a while and ask what, like the stories, how they came to be, how the family came to be, and the a little lives from the past. As a person who had been living in different countries from my birth country, I can completely understand the feeling, because I have the same things. Like I've been living in England for 20 years, and I'm originally from Lithuania. And when you're not seeing your family daily, and like you think you could get annoyed by family because some of them annoying you or something like that. When you are not living in the country with a family, you start to miss every detail. You start to kind of think that you miss out on a lots of things, like you're not seeing your mother too often or something like that. So I always kind of like have moments where I go back home, visit my family. I go and ask them past histories, which I love to hear, because you know what? It just makes it more enjoyable to basically understand them better. We all have our histories and our experiences, but we kind of like miss out on other things, or trying to get to know the parents, and maybe secrets. This book has secret, which was revealed right at the end, which was absolutely shocking and fantastic. So as I say, Ramiro goes to home to Costa Rica. He flies away. Absolutely fantastic artwork in here once again. It just gives you a map. It says where you're going, to Costa Rica, San Jose. That's where the landing was. And he basically puts them into chapters to who he meets, to tell the whole kind of story. At first, I felt, honestly, truth, I felt it was kind of slow, but that last reveal, it's such a reward and a shock, because we have secrets. Our parents probably have secrets we never wanted to disclose. We only find them out. Maybe people leave us, like dies, unfortunately, or we don't even find out that. So, and this is what had kind of a similar thing. So Ramiro goes back home. He sees his mom. Mom's absolutely happy to see him, and he finds the stack of albums inside, with all the pictures of the family, and he is overjoyed, because he's kind of he wants to know more and more, and the more the pictures he sees, the more questions he has to ask his family. So he, as I say, he decides to go almost through the whole family as far as he can, and find out about where he's come from, who are his family. And there's lots of stories which start from 1940s. Let me see the timing. If they, of course, when I'm when I'm talking, and it's becomes like I can't. 1937 actually. The beginning story starts. So I said 1940s, kind of similar to that. And we having two brothers. And the story evolves them fully and completely. They are main characters of this kind of book, a part of our Ramiro, who is basically trying to find out all about it. So Osvaldo and Virgilio is two brothers. One is very kind of like older, of course, like a couple of age old, maybe a couple of years older, and then one is very young, and like second in the family or younger in the family, usually gets away with things. Like for example, I was told by my sister, I have an older sister, and she's always told me that I got away with a murder almost. When we were growing up, she always got the brunt of it, and I was just doing whatever hell they want. I guess that's how it happens now. I have my son. He's only one I have, and you learn with the first child, and it's very difficult to I guess would be for you have a second one, experiences there already, so you don't overreact as much as you do the first one. So the brothers very like they don't get along sometimes, as always brothers do. One is very kind of open-minded, and as I say, younger one is very open-minded and is feel free to do anything he wants, and then the one has kind of like wants to take a responsibility and be serious. And he is meeting a girl, and that girl who Rosario, she is which starts the biggest feud between those two boys' life. So the older brother is absolutely besotted by the girl, and the younger brother doesn't understand why the brother just doesn't, go out with her, ask her out, like go on, she is there. And he's always pushing him and saying to him, like, why don't you do it? And he's like, he's a bit more reserved. And then we have a chapter one, which we go to Uncle Terry and Carol. And as I say, it's fantastic coloring, a very, very simple art style, but absolutely fantastic to look at and really easy to go through. There's kind of like a different kind of mood styles as well in the color scheme, which were fantastic, but almost kind of into the same theme. The one thing I would tell you about art is kind of confusing sometimes because the characters kind of look too very similar to each other. But if you just go and just slowly kind of like let this book unravel itself in the storyline, you'll definitely won't regret it, I think. Well, I didn't, for sure, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It just had the history parts. There were some things, the music, what they were listening. I even went on YouTube to check it out, that song they were talking about, and it was your the song they were talking, I guess, about, and it was really interesting because it gives you the feel of the era, especially in the 40s, and especially in Southern America or some American continent kind of thing, where I'm really not familiar with. I know a couple of people from Southern America, but I never, like kind of, I wasn't immersed in there. I've never even traveled to there, which I would love to do because it seems to be a great island or land to travel to. So yeah, the reveal is for sure all of the family and the cousins and uncles and everything he has met and talked to, and the reveal was great. But if I would tell you, that would just completely spoil this book out, because it's just such a reward after you reading how many pages? It gives you, one second, about 257 pages to read. But it's really easy reading. It's not over, as I say, very easy flowing chapters. Very, as I say, it starts to get more and more intriguing because we get to understand our main character's family as well a bit more, and the shocking reveal at the end. So yeah, very good. No Brow doesn't seems to be always have something up their sleeves. And another thing I realized that when I'm going to libraries is that I don't judge the book. I just went this time, sir, with no expectations. I saw what I saw. I picked them up and just, you know what, I'm going to try. Sometimes I'm kind of like a bit reserved in my pickings, and I'm always go for the safe choice, like, your DCs and Marvels, because I do enjoy that, because that's where I started reading. But discovering, like, I went to Costa Rica in one land, and when I discovered Italian, right, and then of course I had a bit of a DCs and DC comics, and also I will be reading Swiss artists, which the Lupus I was talking prior to that, and now I'm gonna go with Humanoids published book, and it's called Chasing Echoes. And this one is as fantastic as the previous book, but this has a little bit of a kind of understanding history behind my husband's family, kind of in a way. This is a tale of a Jewish family who was based in Poland, but because of what happens to Nazis and what they were trying to do, and get rid of all of them in existence because they weren't what they supposed to be. Anyway, the history of that part. They were escaping and running away, and the family escaped to America, of course. And then this is for to tell you the story of them coming back and looking for a mill. This great building here, where is the basically what the family felt it had to go back to understand a little bit better of their heritage. Sometimes when like experience, like when you escape the hardships, you kind of still want to understand where you come from, and know how the experience was there and stuff like that. And there's lots of memories apparently. And one thing what drove them to do this journey of going from all the way from America back to Poland is because the death of granddad, and this stories he's been telling, and of course of his son who's aging as well. And he's, and like when you age, you start to reminisce of previous what happened before, and you just kind of wanted to know more. And it's written by Dan Goldman. He wrote apparently Red Light Properties and Priyaka Shanti, and illustrated by George Shaw, Visit the Beach, Planet of the Apes. And it's a heartfelt tale about dysfunctional family and self-discovery and rebirth kind of things. Really, really fantastic ones. Again, it has, of course, as a family, we also have somebody who is not really getting along with life, let's say this way, like a black sheep in the family. And this black sheep of the family, her name is Malka. And she is almost to be homeless. She has 2 kids. She's divorced. She's not having job anymore, and she struggles, like barely can make ends meet. And her family, or extended family, uncles and aunts, they kind of don't want to talk to her at all because they feel like she's kind of a failure of the family. So she's always a troublemaker, rather than kind of like, your kind of star pupil of a family is. And they don't want to kind of like, because she's like they know that she struggles to a point where she has bed bugs, and the whole family knows about that. She has 2 kids and divorced, and both kids don't want to live with her anymore. Like, this teenage boy is basically complaining to his own mother, saying that dad has given me a birthday present, and his present is to live with him in California, rather than living in here in this godforsaken land. I don't know exactly the town now, I don't remember, but he's basically saying, I don't want to be here. I want to live normal life. I don't want to struggle with everything. I don't know when I'm going to eat or where I'm going to put my head down. So she's really, really distraught by this information, of course. And the only thing what makes her go is basically make the family tree of because she's fascinated by her heritage. And she's the only one who's basically finds every bit of information is putting the family trees, which is fantastic for her, but also kind of like absolutely sad. Another good tidbit, which in this graphic novel I read, they mentioned my town where I was from. So I'm from Kaunas in Lithuania. And in that time, I guess Polish were the way Polish pronounced my town where I'm from, where I was born in, Kovno. And there we had a huge Jewish community where in the town where I was born. And my husband, he has family from my part of Eastern European. And also another tidbit which I found out, which I wasn't, kind of not aware of. If you are from European descendant Jews, you are called Ashkenazi. Oh, hello! Architectural foam panels and Andrew Lopez. Oh, you kind of because I'm by myself, Ashoka. I've been going through my books quite quickly because I am alone, and that's how it goes. You don't have to share the screen time. It's all about me. Anyway, so yeah, so back to the book. The Ashkenazi, so Jews are from eastern part of Europe, and oh my God, now I'm blanking the name for the southern part of Europe, or west part of Europe. something that starts with S. So the people who came from like Spain, Portugal. Yep. Yeah, I am without them, unfortunately, today. So anyway, so there's a couple of things. Also, there's this little names they call their sons, which I was hearing that while I was visiting, for example, my husband's family in South Africa. So that gave me a little bit, like you find something familiarities or something. Sephardic juice there. Thank you very much. Blanking on that thing. Yeah. So so those kind of things you hear, you get familiar with, like, oh, I know this name. I know exactly who they're calling, why they're calling that. So that kind of thing just made me even more excited about reading this book. So basically, it starts with her. Basically, shows our main character, and then we have we're showing on the family who's basically makes the trip, and they all having this like fantastic experience. We're making everybody's plans. Everybody knows. A part of our black sheep, unfortunately, Malka was not told that they're planning this trip because nobody wants her apparently with them, which is horrible. Absolutely fun. Like, I would think that, like my family would not do that to me, but never know what other family sometimes thinks of you and who you are. So anyway, so some of them already in Europe. So in Budapest, that's the first stop they're gonna meet. Oh, hello, hey, Tyler, the mighty. And other ones about to leave international airport and get to meet them in Europe. But Malka is being clever enough because, yes, I'm going solo, unfortunately. And Malka is going to find out how what's happening. So somebody has told something to her, so she called her uncle and basically talked her into going into this trip as well. Uncle even paid for her trip because she's absolutely broke. She didn't even have a good enough car to go to the airport, or even have a passport ready to go to this kind of major trip. To all their surprises, after arriving to basically Poland, she basically every single family member gets kind of disappointed because she's here with them, and from there onwards they quest to find that mill is happening now. And then the only couple of glimpses of informations they try to use it, but not even speaking the language. It's becoming much more difficult of the task for them to achieve. But thankfully, because our main character Malka, she is having so much information and hoping that we'll be able to reach the destination they really all family wants to go into. And of course, we get involved in the family feuds, in the family arguments, but also they go into museums because they go visit the Europe as well in the same time. And the most sad part, they went into a museum in Poland where the actual concentration camps were. And one of the family members is absolutely chasing chaos, echoes, chaos, echoes, chasing echoes. Dan Goldman and George Shaw. When was this published? Did I say when it was published? 2019. Quite recent book as well. So yeah, they go to this concentration camp, as you can see here, and all the members, and one particular family member, he's having like anxiety, and he's just like, I don't want to do this. And they get lined up almost in the same. Hello, Scott Connor. How are you doing? I'm by myself. So they got lined up almost in the same line how they were put to basically or burned or incinerated the amount of teeth you can see where the lady is basically one of the family members puts the mouth to, and she gets crazy. Also, there is some kind of like pictures of the kids, and like places, the amount of glasses, the amount of people were killed, and this kind of moments, and where you will find out where actually they or suffocate them in the chambers of that's basically what happened to them, and also incinerate them. So there's no evidence of things like that. Crazy and absolutely horrendous. But it's no, like, something needs to be seen on this. Some things like this day and age we have to talk about, because at the end of the day, this kind of things happening, as you're well aware of. Anyway, so yeah, lots of, as I say, some nice and sexy scenes to reveal the pressure, I guess, and being even the orange guy appears in this comic book, unfortunately, but he is just part of the era, when the comic book was written. And also another excuse for them to go to Europe as well, to go to Poland. Apparently Elton John went there, and the family is a huge fan of Elton John. And one funny part of the Elton John part, it says in here, so you see Elton John is singing, and it says here, Elton John's song lyrics are copyrighted by Universal Music Publishing and were not available for this graphic novel, which is a kind of a little bit a nice point to do or to have, to show that in this comic book, to understand people that you can't, or they didn't just made it up. Yeah, it is. I absolutely agree with you 100%. Yeah, so as I say, very heartfelt story, absolutely fantastic. Once again, if you have, it's kind of like a great way to understand, like maybe family's perspective, the heritage perspective, history perspective in the comic book. And I think it would be absolutely fantastic to have this as a comic format for our kids to actually understand, because it's visual media, to understand the history and the, maybe not the violence part. I don't think you should, literally have that on comic book, but the way you have to tell the story, how important some things are and is, to show and to understand the hardships where the family had to go, let's say, or people have to go through. It has a kind of like a great ending for sure for our main character, and then they get to the destination, but how they do get to that, it's another tidbit I don't want to disclose. It would be kind of a bit of a spoiler, but as I say, it's absolutely fantastic little read, and it was such a fantastic trip, as I say, for me, for going to library. So just to recall for people who is turned up a bit late, and the books I actually been picking up and talked about. So Chasing Echoes by Dan Goldman and George Knoll by Humanoids Publishing. Then No Brow Publishing, Memories from Lima by Edo Brenes. Trip to Costa Rica and the family history with a twist, which was absolutely fantastic. And I think he even shows his creators a little bit of background at the back of the book. Another great, fantastic read. Surprise DC great read, Nightwing by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. Fantastic little tale by Nightwing. No worries. I'm here. That's why I'm here for. Definitely. Nightwing Leaping into the Light, the first stories by when Tom Taylor took over Nightwing series from DC. Not so fantastic, but visually stunning. Celestia by Manuela Fiora, and that's Fantagraphics Publishing book. Once again, it's very recent, most of the books. Very well presented book, has great pages, even though it makes the blue ones, and inside visually stunning. But the story, I had a kind of like sort of like a problem with, but it's up to you if you want to go and read it yourself. And one thing I definitely will keep this book for longer because I haven't read it yet. Lupus, Frederick Peters. Apparently he's Swiss, and uh, it's a sci-fi slash not sci-fi tale about the two guys going into space, basically going high and getting involved in situations they shouldn't have. I presume, as far as I get into it, but I will tell you that, guys, in 2 weeks. Because I'm going camping, and today, because it didn't happen on Comic Cracks channel, I just decided I'm just gonna do and talk to you guys in here, or tell you my opinion about the books I read. This one will be kept for me, and definitely when I come back, and I'll talk to you and tell you my opinion. But because this book is quite massive, to be honest, in comparison, for example, even to Celestia, it's much wider. So it's all like or European style, and it's published by Top Shelf Publications. Is it telling me when it was released? Yep. When was it released? 2019 as well. So recent book as well. So there you go. Another mention. This is still great. Lobster Johnson. I have only kind of managed to read an issue or so, but it continues to be as fantastic as I was saying to be. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that. I'm looking forward to reading Lupus for sure. It was intriguing enough, but I just didn't run out of time. And mention this Lobster Johnson Omnibus is still very entertaining, and yeah, has great parts in it, which I maybe talk about because I want to kind of basically start actually finishing it up and have a give. Oh, Curious Celestial, we're not familiar with the book either. Okay, so quick points of that. It had a tale of this this land, or where the people were escaping because of post-apocalyptic situations happened, and there's two younger characters who were basically main ones involved. They were they were kind of rebelling against being in that like dreamland or safe land where it's supposed to be, like, you know, like teenage angst where, you know, you wonder, then your parents are telling you not to go behind the wall because it's bad, or there's nothing for you there, this is safe place, just stay. And nuances of kind of like settings of Venice, and that's a land where they were part. Also, it has the elements of like kind of, you know, it has telepathy. You know, they have telepathy abilities as well. It's just what I'm trying to say, why it didn't click for me is because the story didn't go anywhere for me to understand it. I visually absolutely loved it. It has great panel work, and it has some intriguing nuances in the story, and it has fantastic things inside, but I just couldn't grasp the idea of the premises of what they wanted to tell me. You know, it's kind of very difficult to kind of understand. Was it not translated properly? Because it does tell you that there's a translator, like what usually Fantagraphics are great at. They tell you who translated the book. But I don't know, it's just maybe, I don't know, the experience I got from this wasn't as entertaining enough right at the end of it. So I would love to hear if somebody will dare to pick this up and read it themselves. As I was saying earlier, there is I read a couple of reviews because sometimes I tend to kind of question myself when I read something, especially if it is something I didn't get grasps on. So I went on Google, I checked the reviews, and seems to be many of reviewers who were letting their reviews be told. They were saying that they couldn't grasp the idea of a story as well. So maybe it wasn't myself as well. As a visual medium, is fantastic as a book. Well, as I say, very beautiful hardback, what Fantagraphics usually does to the books. But as I say, it's maybe it's for some people. I was actually talking to my husband earlier, trying to kind of explain to him about what I've read. I was mentioning there's some times that, like when you watch, for example, a movie, like for example myself, when Amelie, a French movie, if you're well aware, it's been released long time ago. When I was a bit younger, when it just got released, I was watching. I fell in love with the actress, the way she was acting, but wasn't very into the story. I love the soundtrack. Now, maybe 10, 11 years later, I watched the same movie. And maybe because I'm experienced more, I have different life perspectives in that moment. I love the story. I felt it's one of my favorite movies there is made. So I don't know, maybe it's the same principle on the books, you can say. Sometimes you read the book, you don't understand it. Maybe you come back to it, you will understand it better, the storyline. I'm just saying, it's just the way, the feelings I had. It is very dreamlike for sure. As I say, visually absolutely fantastic. Those telepathy elements they were putting in the story kind of did help, but kind of even made more confusing because they didn't give you a background to understand why they have that. It just went through this travel through like dream state travel and teenage angst as well at the same time. So I don't know. As I say, it's just the feeling after the book. So I managed to talk 1 hour. Wow. Okay, people, almost 1 hour, not really 1 hour. Whoever you like, Scott Conner, Miss So, Architectural Fun Panels, Andrew Lopez, Tyler the Mighty, who else? The Costa Comics Taki 616. I hope I'm pronouncing it. And Jack Yor. Thank you very much, guys, for turning up. I know it's just last minute notice. I bet the boys will do a chat next Sunday if everything goes well. I definitely won't partake because, as I say, I will be going for my first time camping this next week. I'll be enjoying the nature, hopefully. And yeah, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. So thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it, and for listening, for sure. Thank you very much. Bye.